Good evening, 49er faithful. Welcome to another episode of Between Two Beards. As always, I am your host, Rob Schuh. That is my co-host, Randon McMahon. We are here to entertain because it is free agency, baby. Randon, it is officially freaking free agency. I know we haven't gotten the action that we want, but at least we are here now. Are you feeling the excitement, my friend?
I am, and I don't know whether the action that you want. I mean, the action that everybody wants is, for most people, is Jimmy traded away. But I've been clamoring to go out and spend money in the secondary, and they did just that, which we'll get to. But so I'm stoked.
Hey, I am feeding off of that energy. I'll take it. Like, I agree that was a good signing. We will get to that. We're going to give some free agent grades so far. The Niners have made 3 moves now as they just snapped up a defensive tackle moments ago. We will talk about that for sure. We will talk about Jimmy. We will talk about Deshaun Watson rumors, even though I know that will infuriate some people, that topic continues to come up. And to that, I will just say that as long as it gets floated out there, as long as it is a potential, I feel somewhat obligated to talk about it because it would seem foolish not to explore that avenue if it presents itself as an option for the San Francisco 49ers. So I just want to say neither Randon or I are advocating for that by covering it. If we advocate for it, we'll let you know. I certainly don't, but Randon's entitled to his own opinion on that as well. But people are focused on Jimmy. Randon, Charles Thurman, one of our sneakerheads coming in at Rob. So disappointed in my 49ers on dropping the ball on Jimmy. Rob, you the man, like and subscribe. So I appreciate that. Doing the good deed, but very disappointed on not moving Jimmy. And, you know, I think that there's got to be a little bit of mea culpa from that because I too was guilty of using language that indicated the Niners needed to trade Jimmy Garoppolo before the deadline came at 1 p.m. today, where the new league year started. And I may have said that in a emotional sense, but I always knew, and I believe I stated as well, that the Niners had other options in order to get underneath the cap, and they chose those. And so it just because Jimmy is on the roster now, it doesn't mean Jimmy's on the roster for 2022. So I just want to set that record straight first and foremost, because I feel like if I didn't, there could be a fan revolt, Brandon.
Yeah, emotional damage. Yeah, it's crazy. And that's, you know, we're going to get into it a little bit later on, but obviously plan 1 would probably have been before the 16th, but there's plan 2. I mean, you look at like what the Saints were like 60 mil over the cap and they made it work. Like the cap is a number that you just have to work around. There's plenty of ways to do that. And, you know, it's something, maybe not option 1, but I think they're moving on to option 2 or 3 or 5, depending on how many they had set forth. And, you know, you just got to be happy. I mean, I don't know what other teams look at, like as far as on a week-to-week basis, but I'm sure the Niners have more content than the Lions or a team like that, you know, like to where there's something new every day to talk about or debate or get upset about. And sometimes you just got to, you know, that it's a wave and you're going to get back up here after a down day. So
yeah, you got to ride that wave and you have to be patient. NYCE 1030 is on that track. Gotta be patient. Haste makes waste. It will happen. I agree wholeheartedly with that. I just to address it right off of the bat, we'll get into this topic later. But Randon, how do you feel as far as will Jimmy Garoppolo be traded, released, or on this roster in 2022? If I give you those 3 options, what say you?
I'd say he's traded. Now he doesn't have a no movement clause. So, you know, if we'll get into that, but he doesn't have no movement clause.
Yes, we will.
I think he's going to be traded.
I agree wholeheartedly. And to those that are panicking and thinking that he won't, I am preaching patience for sure. I think we will be happy with the end result of all this that plays out. I believe it. Sean 951 coming in at Rob Schuh. After watching today and hearing the other side of this, I'm all good with Jimmy G still being here. We're under the cap and we'll allow the Watson saga to play out and see who's desperate after that. It is the final domino. You have to know that Watson is the preferred quarterback between he and Jimmy, and I don't blame anybody for that simple fact. That Niner guy coming in, Jimmy trade yet? No. Tinfoil hat theory. They are hanging on to Jimmy to get Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. What's up, fellas? That Niner guy is kidding. That is a joke on his part. Don't kill him in the comments there. All right, let's get into some of these topics. Let's kick this off with the comments from Jim Trotter on Deshaun Watson. I will read off this series of tweets that did, in fact, spark a little bit of a shitstorm, if you will, on Twitter. It got people amped up, and it certainly got me thinking about the possibility of it, but we'll dissect what Jim was actually saying after I read through this. So this is a series of 7 tweets that Jim sent out this morning. Are the 49ers in on Deshaun Watson? Not at this point. It is not something they are pursuing, period. But there could be a scenario in which that changes. Let's go through it. First, Deshaun and his team would have to drive the bus and create an environment in which the 49ers believe they have a credible shot at landing Deshaun Watson. How is that done? Deshaun Watson and his team would essentially have to tell Houston that he will waive his no-trade clause only for SF. Privately, Deshaun Watson has expressed an interest in playing for San Francisco. So it's important for me to call out that it was speculation before that, but that was not a speculative statement. Privately, Deshaun Watson has expressed an interest in playing for SF. Just want to call that out. Continuing, then Deshaun Watson and his team would have to broker a deal knowing that SF does not have the draft capital that Houston desires. It would become a game of chicken then. Deshaun Watson could threaten to sit out a second season, but would he? If Team Watson were to get Houston to reconsider its demands and create an environment in which San Francisco has a legitimate chance of landing Watson, then the 49ers would be willing to engage because Watson is that good. Again, that to me is not a speculative statement. The portion of the sentence where he says, then the 49ers would, not may, would be willing to engage because Watson is that good. To me, that's another one to key in on. Continuing. But at this time, the 49ers are not interested in creating unnecessary drama. Whew. They like Trey Lance and are happy with him. But at the same time, they could be considered foolish not to seriously look into Watson if a deal can be done. The organization has no plans to meet with Watson at this point. And as I said earlier, they are not pursuing him. But if he were to create a scenario in which he could fall into their laps, things would get interesting. What do you get the sense that Jim is really saying here, Randon? Do you believe he is saying anything of substance, or is this all noise? You're muted.
It's just, for me, it's like, okay, yeah, would the Niners be interested in a quarterback like Watson? Sure. Is it practical that they have done their due diligence for Watson? Sure. Has Watson said that he wants to go to San Francisco? Yeah, last year he did say that, which was a more applicable time for him when we didn't already give up those draft picks. But if you're looking at like what's going on here, if you're looking at like what it would take for it to happen, not just in the capital, but you're saying that Watson's going to play hardball and use his no movement clause for every other team besides the 49ers without knowing that the Niners may or may not be willing to get the price. So now I understand that agents have a lot to do with this stuff. Agents, DeForest Buckner's agent initiated the trade to the Colts during his time. I think
right.
And so, maybe Watson's agent is doing all this dealing with Houston and San Francisco and said, okay, and he puts it together. But I have a feeling it's like, come on, like you're going to deny all those teams. I think that realistically he ends somewhere in the Carolina area, whether it be Atlanta or Carolina, because that's where he played college and he feels more at home there. But why wouldn't he want to go to the Niners with a winning culture, a winning team that he hasn't had at Houston? So I just think that there's an opportunity for there, but it's such a lot of dominoes have to fall for it to happen. I just think that it's speculative hearsay at this point.
I agree, and I think Swan Song makes a succinct way of summing it up here to some extent. Literally a tier above clickbait, right? But it's an important distinction that it is not purely clickbait, because I think there is a line, and that line to me is a couple of those statements in there are not speculative around the interest in playing for SF, around SF being open to it if there were a scenario where he could come out. To me, I was much happier when the Niners shut down the Watson rumors than I was after this coming out. Once this came out, it was a lack of clarity that I then had to play mental tennis with, because I began to ask my questions of, are the Niners actually doing some due diligence here, or is this all hypotheticals? And would Watson truly be a fit in the Bay Area? And that, to me, becomes the biggest question in this thing. Forget the fact that most of this is noise. Forget the fact that Watson would need to play out this entire scenario to make it even feasible for the Niners to bring him in. The question becomes, Randon, should the 49ers actually consider Deshaun Watson? Does the talent outweigh everything else? As you've considered this yourself, what's your take on it?
No, I don't think they should. And one, because you're looking at, you already gave up 3 firsts to get Lance, right? So then if Lance is theoretically a part of this package, then the Texans are going to be like, okay, great. It's not our fault you traded 3 picks to move up and get Lance. We like the player, but we also want picks. So, you saw what the package was for Russell Wilson. You got to assume that the package is going to be more for Watson. So you're thinking probably Trey Lance, this year's second, next year's second, either one of Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, probably Brandon Ayuk on top of that, and some other picks here and there to get a quarterback who also makes $45 million.
Right.
And so, obviously Warner's contract would, that's 20 mil there, or and then getting rid of Jimmy, that's another 20 mil. So they could make it work, but you're losing all these assets. And as we've said in multiple shows, that the formula for winning the Super Bowl generally has been load a team up under a rookie contract and try to win that way. And, it happened with Mahomes. It's happened with Russell Wilson. It's happened with multiple people. It almost happened with Joe Burrow this year. And so theoretically, the Niners have a window of 4 years to make use of that rookie contract and try to win at least 1 or 2 Super Bowls before Lance theoretically makes $65 million or whatever, whenever how far the cap goes up, and quarterbacks always get paid more. So I just don't see it happening, just because of the amount of stuff that you would have to give up, the amount of assets, and then you're not putting the best team around Watson as you possibly could have.
That's right.
And then lastly, the Niners organization say, they want players that are character players, good locker room guys. And I'm not saying that Watson isn't. I'm not saying that he's not. But the situation around him and having that being asked by reporters all year long, asking his teammates about that all year long, it's definitely could be considered as a distraction. And they want to win this year. And I think they can win this year with Lance. And so, for me, I just don't think there's a possibility there. I know I said a lot of things. So what's your opinion on that?
No, you said a lot of things, but a lot of things that are very true about this situation. And I go back and forth. I think there are a couple of comments that sum it up fairly succinctly between the two sides. I swing back and forth from like a goddamn pendulum as I consider this. The first one, Sean9519ers, pointing out, Rob Schuh, you put Watson at age 25 on the 49ers, we're set for the next 10 years. So if you just go with the idea, well, if talent trumps everything in this league, and there are many examples of the league telling us straight to our face, talent trumps everything, because you look at disciplinary actions for players that are stars in the league versus those that aren't, and there's a pretty big disparity there. And then I go back and forth with my old friend Dirk here, who puts in Watson to the 49ers is the mistakiest thing I have heard in a minute. Yes, the mistakiest thing. I agree. It feels wrong to put Watson and the cloud that's hanging over his head into San Francisco. Feels like a disaster. I mean, you have incidents earlier on in the 49ers organization where they attempted to distance themselves from anyone that had sort of a murky situation. And whatever you want to say about the grand jury not indicting Deshaun Watson, it most certainly does not clear up all speculation about his entire situation. There is a lot there, 22 civil cases. If any of those go to court and more details come out, it could be ugly. I mean, I do see people on the other side. It's important for me to clarify that I am in no way, no how defending Deshaun Watson. I also do believe in due process, and I believe in trusting victims as well. So it is in taking all of that in that one has to make a decision. And to me, as I take that all in, there may not be anything that's criminal charge worthy, but there's still enough there that feels icky, that feels like I maybe don't want that associated with my organization. I mean, say what you want about the legality or illegality of sex work. That's a whole nother topic, right? But in this circumstance, with all these masseuses that feel like they were sexually assaulted in some way, to me, it's just hard pass. I would rather move on to Lance at this point and stay away from this consideration of, well, no, you got to go with the talent. To me, stay away from the drama.
Yeah, the only point that the Watson side, like getting Watson side has, is that he's a sure thing as far as talent. We don't know what Lance is. I mean, he has all the elite skills in the world, but there's been plenty of elite quarterbacks come out of college and do nothing. So, but then you also have the side, like, would this be a throwaway year? If Watson comes here this year and then they suspend him 6 games, we have Nate Sudfeld as our backup or as our starting quarterback for 6 games. Do we even make the playoffs at that point? You know, like we'd have to almost go undefeated in the second half to have a shot. So I think there's just too much risk on all the ends to overweigh, which he clearly is the better quarterback at this point in time.
Yes, no doubt.
And he would be the best option at quarterback for the next decade as far as like taking the odds of him panning out. But I think you throw away this year, he might not like, and then you always have that lingering over your head, like, will more of this stuff come up?
Right.
You know, like that's the kind of thing there. So, you know, for me, it's just all that smoke in his personal life. I'm willing to bet on Lance as well. That's pretty much what.
Me too. And I like how Luke Luna presents this, both sides of the argument in one comment. Luke Luna coming in, who cares about the draft picks? If they would take Lance and a couple of players and mid-round picks, you do it. If they would, Watson is who you hope Lance becomes, but we will be good with Lance in time. So I think that's sort of what you have to weigh one against the other is, do you need the immediate gratification and the cloudiness that comes with it? Or are you willing to have a little bit of patience and going a more, I don't want to say wholesome route, but a little bit more of a wholesome route? William Bennett coming in with the super chat. Jimmy going nowhere till Watson is off the table. That much is clear to me, that the Watson domino must fall before the Jimmy Garoppolo trade happens. So I think
I disagree.
It falls with anyone else. Like, to me, it has nothing to do with San Francisco. It has to do with where he goes. But after that, then Jimmy can find his destination.
I disagree. I think
Please tell me why.
I think the teams looking for Watson are not the teams that are looking for Jimmy Garoppolo. Like,
I think that's fair.
Is Jimmy Garoppolo that much better than Sam Darnold for the contract? I mean, they're already paying him $18 million. He is better. Yeah. But how are they going to be able to, just like we have? They can't cut Sam Darnold because he's making guaranteed money. So is the team willing to trade for his contract, and then they have to take on Jimmy's $27 million? No, but you would do that for perennial all pro. Same thing with the smoke to Atlanta. Like, Jimmy Garoppolo ain't better than Matt Ryan. So the Falcons aren't going to take Jimmy Garoppolo. So, and the team that Houston already nixed off the trade list, which is the Colts, is still the number one destination for Jimmy Garoppolo. So I don't think the two are even entwined whatsoever. The only team that maybe changes that would be like all these triad trades that people are talking about, like, right. Oh, people going to Cleveland.
3-team trade.
Yeah. Then maybe that would be an issue. But I think the two teams of the front runners, the Carolina and Atlanta, I don't think have any interest in Jimmy Garoppolo.
I believe that there are moves that come as a result of this move, and everybody's waiting to see what those are, right? Somebody going somewhere can potentially free someone up, right? If he ends up going to Atlanta, Matt Ryan then moves. And so to me, everyone's waiting to see what happens there because it's the biggest piece to fall as of right now. But that's I get fair. What you're saying, that it's not the same teams competing for those services. I think you're right about that. Dirk Pippen has upgraded his membership within the sneakerhead community. Dirk decided no, he needed more. He needs a member. Yes. Kevin coming in from Glasgow. Here we go. Empaths always do what we do. 22 counts and 22 pleading the fifths. We don't need that. Gotta love your mindset, Rob. It's way too risky. That's the thing. I get caught up too in the talent and in the sure thing versus an unknown factor in Lance. I just wouldn't feel real good about it. It would feel it would feel sort of dirty in that respect. And I would just rather stay away from that if I can. If there's a path forward with a lot of hope, and I think there's one for Lance. So I don't have to compromise my values. I can continue to believe in Lance as I have since this time last year and go that path. To me, that's the healthiest route forward.
True. Let's move on, my man. I agree with you.
Amen. William Bennett coming in. Are we sure Watson won't have any rust? And I thought it takes 2 seasons to learn Kyle's system. And the franchise just sold Lance merchandise. All good comments, William. Yes, I think there is every possibility that after taking a year off, there would be some rust. That was the concern with Lance having a year off, although it's a much more mature player, one that has played in the league, so less rust. I do think it would take a while to learn the system, although I think if you look at the level of talent for Watson, you could say he could come in and even in a compromised understanding of the offense, probably operated at a level equal to or better than Jimmy Garoppolo. I do agree that fans who recently bought Lance merchandise would feel swindled at that point. But, I don't think the organization would really give that a second thought if they pulled the trigger on this.
No, they don't care.
No, they don't. All right. Luke Luna coming in with the super sticker. Much appreciated. We're going to transition to the next topic, but we got NorCal Trocas coming in with the super chat. I would like your input on CK7 back up for the Niners. Colin Kaepernick. There was a Colin Kaepernick mention in that he spoke to Pete Carroll, and Pete Carroll said it's about damn time he gets a chance back in the league. I don't think it's going to be with us here in Seattle, but somebody should give a chance to Colin Kaepernick. I thought that was priceless. Like, oh man, the league needs to get off of their butt and get this guy back in here. No, we're not going to do it. We're not going to be the team
that needs a quarterback isn't going to do it, but
somebody should.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. No, so
that would create even more drama than we had this year with Jimmy Garoppolo if he was the backup.
Please preach, brother, preach. Why? Why would that create that drama?
Because you have over half the fan base, or maybe roughly half the fan base, if not more, who still like Colin Kaepernick, still believe he should be in the NFL, all that kind of stuff like that. Then he's the backup. Then you go into camp. Oh, is there going to be a quarterback battle? And it's like, it's all this kind of stuff. It's not going to. It would make it harder for Lance because you're looking at the people that didn't want Jimmy, or didn't want Jimmy wants Lance, or vice versa. This would be fans going, oh, well, I like both quarterbacks. Like, who do I root for? Like, who's going on? And then he's always gonna have to look over his shoulder. Like, you want him going into the season knowing that it's his locker room,
right?
And so, like, this would not be that way. So
I think that's the message. I think that's the message the Niners sent when they signed Nate Sudfeld to a $2 million guarantee. I believe it was someone in the comments called it out. I apologize to that person. I can't remember who brought that up, but it was a great idea, and it's stuck with me ever since. That's the reason you go with a backup like Nate Sudfeld, assuming that's what's signaled by the $2 million guarantee, that they don't waste money and he ends up on the practice squad. But if you go into the season with Trey Lance QB1 and Nate Sudfeld QB2, you're doing that so that no fan in their right mind is ever going to call for Nate Sudfeld to come off of the bench if Lance struggles in the first half of week 1, week 2. So to me, you bring in a Kaepernick and you have reopened that freaking door, and it just becomes a nightmare scenario.
Agreed.
William Bennett back in with another super chat. Watson is used to being able to freestyle. He won't be able to do that with Kyle, and his strength is that. That's interesting. Again, to me, if we're talking about talent, I actually am okay with him being on the team. The reason I'm not okay with him being on the team is the cloud that hangs over him. I just can't get past that. To me, it's a non-starter.
Yeah, for sure.
Let us transition into some of these contract restructures. So the 49ers could have traded Jimmy Garoppolo to get themselves some cap relief, but they would have needed to clear some cap room anyway. They needed to get underneath the 1 p.m. cutoff, and they had to do so with Jimmy still on the books because his trade wouldn't have taken place until 1:01 Pacific Standard Time. So many of these restructures were just necessary business for the 49ers because they hadn't traded Jimmy Garoppolo in 2021. They needed to create that cap space. So the 3 that they did were George Kittle, Eric Armstead, and Dee Ford. Just in general terms, before we break down what the Niners actually did with these numbers, Randon, do you have any objection to these 3 players that the 49ers have essentially tied more future money to by kicking these decisions down the road?
Well, the fourth thing's already failed, so why not extend him even further?
Right.
What's the point of that? As far as
Let's
Kittle,
go Bobby Bonilla on this one.
Yeah, just pay him $1 million a year for 40 years and
forever.
Yeah, let's just do it. As far as Kittle and Armstead, I mean, you're saying that they're even future, their future on the team is even going even further than what it already was. And I don't know where I heard this, but I think it was that the Niners were bottom 5 in the league in dead money. So they're not being foolish with their money. They did this at the last minute. And it is what it is. Sometimes teams have to do that to stay relevant. Obviously, the Saints are doing that to stay relevant right now. It happens with every team. And you have to do it with players that are making lots of money. You can't restructure a guy making $1 million because what's the point?
That's right.
It's just got to mean that Armstead and Kittle have to stay relevant in their careers for longer.
Yes. I have to put this in because I love it. And we've made mention of this. But for anyone that doesn't get it, Between Two Beards, Terror Dome says, Schuh, just watch Between Two Ferns. I get it. Between Two Beards. Yes, it is a play on the Zach Galifianakis fantastic program and movie Between Two Ferns. For any of you that did not understand, now you know. Let's look at these terms, right? Kittle, they took $10.4 million of Kittle's $11.5 million 2022 base salary and just converted it to a signing bonus. So he was set to earn 11.5. They took a little bit over 10 million of that and said, here you go. Here is your signing bonus. And then that signing bonus gets to be prorated over the remaining contract years. So now his 2022 base is the vet min, just over $1 million. They added a voidable year in 2026 so that 10.4 million gets spread out even further by the voidable year. It doesn't actually add a year to his contract. It actually adds a voidable year where he has a dead money cap hit. So now his restructure has it looking like 2022, the cap hit is 7.7 million, 2023, 18, 2024, 20 mil, 2025, 17 mil. So I agree. I don't think Kittle's going anywhere because of the idea that he is more than just a tight end, more than just a blocking tight end. He's a face of the franchise. He's a guy that they use in all of their promotional materials. He's a guy that they use to sell season tickets. He's a locker room guy. He's a personality guy. So does that 18, 20, and $17 million cap hit in 23, 24, 25 worry me because Kittle has had some injury issues? Yes, a little bit, but I understand it as a business move. And I see why the Niners selected him as a player they were willing to commit themselves to. It made sense to me, Randon.
Yeah, I mean, you have to do it. You have to get under the cap. It is what it is. And you're just moving forward and you're trying to extend a guy that has been the face of the franchise. I know there was a lot of rumors about trading him, before the quote unquote downside of his career. But I think what you could do to extend his career is get a good backup tight end. So where he doesn't have to do all the work.
Yes. And we actually will mention a potential backup tight end that got released today. We'll be talking about that later. Armstead, they did basically the same thing. Took 13 million of his 14.2, converted it to signing bonus. And now his base salary is the vet min of 1.12 million. They added 2 voidable years to his contract. Now it looks like 2023, it climbs up to 24. 2024 climbs up to almost 26 million. So again, there are some staggering figures in there, but I also understand this. Armstead is a Swiss Army knife type of a player, and the Niners cherish that versatility along the defensive line. And he is one of the community guys. Anytime you look at what Armstead is doing in the community for charities with the San Francisco 49ers organization, he's a name that is constantly promoted as the Walter Payton Man of the Year for the team. I think they feel comfortable committing to him because of those two factors. He's a Swiss Army knife, he's versatile, and he is the sort of anchor in the community tie aspect where he's really the face of the franchise in that respect.
Yeah, he's a good dude. And you want to keep good guys in the locker room and I just think they did what they had to do and they're moving forward, and hopefully the salary cap is a lot higher and it's not really that big of a deal. But like I said before, like if teams like the salary cap is just relevant for the number you have to stay underneath, but there's always decisions that can be made to get underneath that number. So
no doubt. Elvis coming in just to be kind. Appreciate that, Elvis. Sneakerhead here on the channel. And we've got Kevin came in with a good, insightful comment. I just have to find it because it got moved around. There we go. Kevin, Sneakerhead on the channel. At Rob and Randall, we did super well during the day's restructures. Ford was a must, and Kittle and Armstead were both a necessity. It's nice to look around, but Shannon Lynch are faithful to building. I agree that they were necessary. The Niners needed that in order to get underneath the cap. I was okay with all of these restructures. With Ford, just kicking the can further down the road. It just was a necessity. They cleared up approximately $5 million with it and basically just pushed a little bit of money down the road. In total, the 2022 restructures saved the 49ers $23.8 million freaking dollars. And it was necessary because, again, Jimmy was going to be on the books even if a trade had been agreed to at that point. William Bennett coming in with the super chat. Leaders are supposed to be decisive. What message is being sent to Trey if they keep kicking tires on free agent quarterbacks? It didn't help Jimmy last year either. I think this is a very fair point. I have one other thing to add to this. First, the idea of flirting with all these quarterbacks, not in the same veracity that they did last offseason where they really flirted with. I mean, they went on a couple of first dates with quarterbacks, right? It wasn't just some casual flirting at the bar. There was some heavy petting involved in those flirtatious moves. But add to that the idea that I don't think the Niners have been super aggressive in this offseason. I think what they're saying in their strategy is patience. To me, that's the message that I got, is that they are going to be a little bit in wait and see mode, and we may see them actually be more aggressive in like a mid-season trade than we're going to see right now. I think it is let Lance get his feet wet, let him get used to the starting role, and then maybe we see the aggression next offseason.
Yeah, this just in, Mozart to Miami, according to Ian.
Oh, no.
Maserati is out the building.
What did he get?
The contract number I haven't seen yet.
That is rough. Ramon as well coming in with the icon here. Damn it, Raheem to the Dolphins. Yes. Hey, I'm glad he's with Mike McDaniel. Couldn't wish for a better head coach if it ain't going to be Kyle Shanahan. William Bennett coming in. Even if this is Trey throwaway year with this team, I believe he can still get us to the playoffs. Like and subscribe. Appreciate that, William. I agree. I think
it be a throwaway year?
I think what he's saying is even if he struggles, even if he has, some rookie growing pains that a second-year player might have. And I agree. I don't think it takes that phenomenal of a year from Trey Lance to get us into the playoffs.
No, I mean, Jimmy had 12 interceptions and stuff like that. They're going to run the football. Like it's not going to be that hard. And then presumably, like you're looking at with getting Charvarius Ward, the defense might be even better. So then the offense doesn't have to do even as much above that too. So yeah, I mean, I think that he could play mediocre and the team still wins.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Elvis coming in. How's it going, Rob and Randon? Good day from Australia. Do we lose much if we cut Dee Ford? And why in the hell are we still stuck with Jimmy? Elvis, no, we don't lose much. We gain a little bit of cap relief, but the Niners actually lessen their cap relief. So the signal that was sent inadvertently from the way in which they extended Ford is that he will attempt to play again this year. That's my prediction right now. Dee Ford will do what he did last year. We may only get those few snaps from him, but I do believe he will try to play for the San Francisco 49ers. And then we're stuck with Jimmy. My belief, because the Niners overplayed their hand a little bit and the trade market softened when you had Tom Brady come out of retirement and Russell Wilson actually get traded away from Seattle. That's my interpretation of it. Randon, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree.
Very succinct, my friend. Yeah. Very succinct.
I don't have to go any further on that, man. You said it all.
No, you're good. Michael Duran coming in. Any chance we sign Cam Newton once Jimmy G is traded? I don't think so. I think that we go into next season with Nate Sudfeld as the backup. I think it is Lance and Nate, and I think it's because they don't want to have someone breathing down Lance's neck.
No, yeah, there's no way we bring him in. Cam Newton is an icon in the league, or at least used to be an MVP. But he didn't play well last year. He didn't play well the year before. And like, what would be the point of wasting money at that point? I think if you're signaling for Nate Sudfeld to get that extra money, you're just hoping that Lance doesn't get bit with an injury. and you can spend all that extra money on other players. And I think the Niners are willing to bet on that. And if it doesn't happen, then they'll make a choice at that point in the season for maybe a trade or something of that nature.
That Niner guy coming in, can the Niners just cut the crap with always being interested in every single player that is available? I'm sorry, but they never get them. Get this fan base too fired up on guys they would never get. That Niner guy, my emotional side says, yes, please stop 49ers. You're playing with my emotions, Smokey. But the content creator side of me is like, no, I enjoy the fact that they get linked to everyone because then I get to talk about everyone and the hypotheticals. I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding. I agree. It's frustrating, but I think it is due diligence. I believe that it's important to do that due diligence. Part of me wishes they would just stop telegraphing it because the Niners are good at holding on to information when they want to. So they are leaking this when they say, oh, we're going to go kick the tires on that free agent. And I agree. That gets a little tiresome not bringing them home after that.
How do you know it's the Niners doing this? It could be the agent leaking this or
Could
whatever.
be.
Like your source, like the agents know what's going on.
Yes,
you know?
they do.
So like, oh, hey, the Niners reached out to so-and-so to see what his cost would be for Chandler Jones.
That's
Jones'
a great
agent
point.
leaks the news, whatever. But again, like we're linked to everybody. Why? Because we're a winning team. We have a need at a lot of these positions. We had a need last year for quarterback. And so like it is what it is. Like I said, I wouldn't rather be a Lions fan where you're linked to nobody. So
no, my apologies, Dustin, if you're watching this show right now. That's my buddy who's often watching the program and is an unfortunate Lions fan. Dustin, I'm sorry, buddy, but that's the life you've chosen. Reeves Remo coming in. Rob, what's worse, keeping Jimmy or gas prices? LOL. Hey, I just filled up my tank. I did not fill my tank. I put $50 in my tank, and that was all I was willing to do with current gas prices. And then I did the math, and I think in my truck right now, it's costing me somewhere between 25 and 50 cents per mile, per freaking mile to go anywhere. So right now, what's worse? Gas prices are worse because I know eventually the Niners are going to trade Jimmy. I'm not sure when these gas prices are coming down.
Agreed, man. It's so painful because I got invited to a friend's house this weekend and he lives an hour away. And I almost wanted just to text him a picture of what the gas prices are. And that was it.
Totally.
No.
No. Not happening. I'm not going to my buddy's house that is down in Canby, Oregon right now to go play cards because I'm going to need to win $50 from that card game just to pay for the back and forth. It ain't right. It ain't right, I tell you. William Bonnet coming in. This is William Bonnet, not William Bennett. Maybe it's William Bennett, but just a misspelling there. Who knows? Rob, you keep calling. Oh, no, it isn't. This is a different. My apologies, William Bonnet. It's not William Bennett. William Bennett is a sneakerhead on the channel, and my brain just filled in the two. So my apologies. I will get that right from here on out. William Bonnet. I should have gotten that the first time, but it was just an oversight. You keep calling me William Bennett. That's the other guy. It's Bonnet or Bonet. Correct me if I'm saying it the wrong way. I'm thinking Bonnet, but it could be Bonet as well. Still love you, though. If Lynch botches this window, it's TV for him. Yeah, it could be. It could be that if things don't work out with Lance, he does get a chance to go back to television. But it sounded like he was going to make a hell of a living talking on TV anyway, so I'm not sure he would be that sad.
Yeah, I think I don't know who it was. Was it Apple TV or somebody reached out to him and Amazon or something like that? And here's like $10 million for you could do whatever you want. So there's going to be plenty of money for him if he doesn't succeed.
Yes. Randall Riley with the creative solution. If you don't like gas prices, just walk. Yes. I mean, that's the solution for sure. It would take me a little while to get to Canby, but I could do it. Here we go. Archie coming in with the super chat. Rob Don McShoe. Too many fog news. It's Trey time. Was that supposed to be fake news? It's Trey. Anyway, I get the message. It's Trey time, and I'm on board with that as well. Michael Duran coming in. First Mullins, then Dwelly, now Alshire. Grant Cohn is the new Madden curse for players he likes. What's wrong with Azeez Alshire? He got tendered. I haven't seen any news since then. Randon, have you seen anything other than Azeez Alshire getting tendered?
No, I haven't seen him I haven't heard anything about an injury or anything.
Michael, please feel free to put in whether there is additional news there or not. I've not seen anything break, but that is our transition to the restricted free agent tenders. Just to talk about it a little bit, we announced the tenders to restricted free agents, Azeez Al-Shaair, which was a second round a tender. And let me explain what that means. A second round tender means that the 49ers have agreed to pay Azeez Al-Shaair a 1-year contract worth $3.99 million. If Azeez wants to, he can go out and negotiate with other teams. He's free to draw up a contract with another team in the league. If they come to terms, the 49ers then have an opportunity to match said contract. If the Niners match that contract, Azeez would stay with them, and they would assume the contract terms that Azeez negotiated with that third-party team. If the Niners choose not to match that contract, the third-party team would need to compensate the 49ers. In addition to paying Azeez the contract they worked out, they would have to give the 49ers a second-round pick as well. That's what the second round tender means. It forces the Niners to pay Azeez more for a 1-year contract, but it gets them compensation if he's signed by somebody else. So that's what happened to Azeez. And then Daniel Brunskill was tendered at a right of first refusal. There is no draft pick compensation there. It just means he's free to negotiate with other teams. If he comes up with a suitable contract with a third-party team, the Niners have a chance to match that contract. It gives them the right of first refusal. And that one comes with a price tag for Daniel Brunskill of $2.43 million. The last piece of news that comes in underneath this umbrella is that Kentavius Street is now an unrestricted free agent because he was not offered a tender in this scenario. How do you feel about these three players, Randon?
I think they did it exactly right. I think Al-Shaair, with him, like, he had to get over 100 tackles. A second round pick, though, is a quality player that you would have on your books for a long period of time. You could draft as a replacement at that point, and they have Greenlaw at that point. So, if they happen to lose him and you get a second round pick, then so be it. Brunskill is necessary, and so I think that they probably wouldn't get a pick from him, but maybe it's just a way for them to keep him on the team. And if he gets an outrageous contract from somebody else, then they go in a different direction. But we're already down on offensive linemen, so hopefully somebody doesn't offer him too much money. And then Kentavius Street just hasn't really been playing. So not offer him a tender is perfectly on board with what I thought.
I feel like when you and I went through and talked about the potential restricted free agents, that we agreed that was the appropriate level for Azeez, that the two of us, I remember saying that I would place the second round tender on Azeez. So I agree. I think that was appropriate. Daniel Brunskill, I'm a bit ambiguous about whether we keep him or whether he goes. I think he's a critical depth piece. And certainly now that you're having to pencil in Aaron Banks at the left guard spot, you would like to have someone proven at the right guard spot. And Daniel Brunskill is that. But proven at what level, I think that you could fill in for him without dropping off too far. So I won't be too displeased if somebody comes in and the Niners don't match it. Azeez, I thought it was critical that he had the second round tender to prevent other teams from coming in and swooping him. And then the same with Kentavius Street. I see a situation where the Niners attempt to bring Kentavius Street back on a significantly cheaper deal, closer to the vet minimum. And I would expect them to continue to negotiate with Azeez in getting a multiple year year deal done, because the tender does not restrict the 49ers from further negotiations with these individuals. They can still negotiate a multiple year deal with Azeez, which to me, you lock him in now before he gets even more expensive after proving himself for one more year. That would be my humble opinion on that one.
Yeah, the Niners have done great jobs with just taking these, I wouldn't say no-name guys, but guys that haven't really proven themselves yet, and brushing them off and getting good value out of them. So, if we lose Street to a free agent deal, then it is what it is, and they can bring in another guy that has athletic traits that hasn't really put it on paper yet, and try to rinse and repeat.
And you still have Dre Greenlaw for one more year. I do think that assuming Azeez signs the tender and stays with the team, even if it's only on a 1-year basis, my assumption then is that they do try to trade Dre Greenlaw for a late round pick, because that room is pretty stacked at this point. Look, we do have a super chat this time from William Bennett. Now you can all see the confusion. Bennett, Bonnet, it's difficult to keep it straight, especially when you're a little lunatic like I am. William Bennett coming in to say the Niners fake interest for favors to drive up money. I like it. A little bit of the conspiracy theory, not quite conspiracy theory enough for me to put on the tinfoil hat again, but it's a little conspiracy theory. I certainly agree that in the league, people scratch each other's backs. Agents scratch other people's backs. Some of the national media guys, Adam Schefter and whatnot, scratch agents' backs. There's a lot of back scratching going on.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't put it past me that some of that kind of stuff does. But for me, I don't go down the tinfoil road until there's actually news to be made, and we just go from there.
Yes, it is easier that way not to make up the news. Just wait until the real stuff comes out, because at this point, the news is coming out quickly. There is no doubt about it. I just want to bring in Melvin's comment here. At Rob, I wish the Niners would come out and say that Lance is their starter. I have some serious questions regarding this regime and how they're handling their business. Melvin, the second part of that, I'm not quite as on board with you, but the idea of coming out and making Trey Lance feel a bit more secure, that one I am on board with. Because I do think that from an emotional toll standpoint, I mean, Randon, how would you feel if you thought going into this offseason you were the unquestioned starter, and then here we are, continued speculation about flirting with other quarterbacks? Would that erode at your confidence as the presumptive starter?
Yeah, it would, but we don't know that they're doing this behind closed doors. I mean,
right?
Hey Lance, you guys are our starter. We're not after Watson. We're trying to trade Jimmy away. We have to keep up this facade to keep interest in the trade market. Blah blah blah. And there's no word the wiser because Lance just keeps his mouth shut about this whole thing. We don't know if that's going on. But they've said publicly that they have a scenario built in where they keep Jimmy this year.
Yes.
So saying Lance is their starter is not saying that. Well, I guess technically it's not. You got to have Jimmy as the backup, but ultimately it's saying that we are okay keeping him. So you might as well give us a high pick to pry him from our hands. I think it's all posturing, and I think Lance knows that it's his team.
I think so too. I don't get a sense that he's all that worried behind closed doors. I get a sense of confidence from Lance. Maybe I'm just projecting that. I know I'm just projecting that. That is my hope, I should say. Syard coming in with the super chat saying, am I the only one tuning in the last few days hoping to get the Schuh unfettered reaction to Jimmy news if it happens during the show? Gimme Gilmore. I would love to do a live reaction. You get my unfettered reaction no matter what. I feel like I do not hold back. The one thing that this comment brought to me is this idea I've been having. And Randon, we got to make this happen some way. We're going to find an outside platform where we can create an unfiltered podcast. Because the one thing I think people would get a kick out of is seeing the side of me that curses a little bit more than I do on this program. Because I can curse like a sailor, and I give the PG-13 version because that's what YouTube sort of dictates to have a channel that doesn't get fines and removed. And I'm not willing to get my channel removed. But there's a part of me that wants to drop a lot of F-bombs, as evidenced by the occasional F-bomb that slips out on occasion by accident. Randon, we're going to work on this. We're going to make it happen, buddy.
Yeah, we got to get some platform that some third party, or just record it on Zoom. It might not be live, which would be unfortunate for the fan base, but then you could just put out a podcast on Apple, whatever. Just put the explicit tag on it and let the expletives fly.
That's right. Between two scruffy beards.
Yeah.
Archie coming in. Any news with Jimmy, or should I drive off the Bay Bridge? If you are, I can't even joke about that. No, do not drive off the Bay Bridge at the moment, but don't get your hopes up about any news about Jimmy, because we have not freaking heard anything yet. But that gives us the transition into our next topic, which is that Jimmy is still in San Francisco, but it is just for now. Randon, what do you see as the most likely scenarios that get Jimmy Garoppolo out of San Francisco, as many 49ers fans are desperately hoping to see?
I think so. Two things. I still think Indianapolis is the front runner. The price might not be what they gave up for Wentz, or got for Wentz.
Right.
But now Jimmy's no trade clause isn't in effect. So you could theoretically trade him anywhere, for almost nothing. And he could say, oh yeah, we'll take half of Jimmy's contract and get a 4th round pick from Houston.
Right.
Or whatever, we don't really care where you're going now, or that type of thing. Or, for the Saints, right? Because the Saints have barely any cap room. Hey, we'll take a 3rd round pick. We'll take half of Jimmy's contract or whatever. Like, let's just get him off the books. Like, 15 million free versus none free is a benefit there. And then, if they cut him and get nothing, but there's a far bridge from the 2 seconds reportedly that they want and getting absolutely nothing for Jimmy Garoppolo. There's a far range there. And I think now that he has his no trade clause isn't really there. I mean, anything to get the money off, like even if it's a 5th round pick or a 6th round pick, like anything to get the money off, like that's fine with me at this point. And let's just move on and move forward. But I think that, I think he's still going to be traded.
I agree. To me, it's just a matter of when, not a matter not a matter of if. I believe Jimmy gets traded, no question about it. And you're right that the idea of cutting him at this point, now that you've passed this imaginary line in the sand of the new league year starting, there is so much room to operate in between trying to get multiple 2nd rounders, as has been reported, and just simply cutting him for nothing. You can start to eat a portion of his salary. You can include another player. Dre Greenlaw is someone you may be looking to shop anyway. If you throw him in there, does that sweeten the deal? You can throw in a draft pick. You can reduce your price. There are so many ways in which you can get creative with this, to me, that the Niners will get it done. If we flip this around, though, and look at Syard's question here, what does the scenario look like in keeping Jimmy on this team? And is there any scenario that comes from that?
Yeah, if he stays, I think the team would have to say it's an open battle in camp and go from there. I mean, if you kept Jimmy for the whole year, I mean, you're hoping that you're hoping that a quarterback gets injured and that you can trade him mid-season, but at that point, then his value is even lower. I think the free money would be more important than getting probably what's considered. Well, actually, if the trade happens mid-season, a team is desperate, then you probably do get the asking price that you're wanting. But I just think I don't think it's the right move. I think eventually they'll get something for him before the season starts. It might not be the 2 seconds that they wanted, but it'll be worth the clearing up that cap space.
Yeah, I just can't get on board with any scenario that keeps Jimmy on. I think it's too toxic of a relationship to have Jimmy and Lance to try and make Jimmy the backup. To me, it is just a matter of when you actually get Jimmy off of the books, not a question of if. I'm bringing in Vicky here because I share her sentiment at Rob Schuh. I can't believe the front office did not re-sign DJ Jones. I agree. He has officially signed with Denver. It is over. It is sad. On a lighter note, Waruna wants to know, where is the jacket, Randon? Come on, Rob. Force Randon to come on the show with a dress code. I mean, get it together. Here we are. There it is. There it is. Looking suave.
Got the jacket done.
Yes.
Ay, caramba.
Ooh, William Bennett with the question, what Watson contract, how much money? If we're talking about how much is Watson currently getting paid, it is a lot. I think he is scheduled to make something like $45 million this year. So, I mean, it's pretty ridiculous.
It's 50% more than a crap load.
That is quite a bit. LA Blue 49, both Kittle and Armstead, Jimmy G fans, were willing to restructure their deals. Wonder if they were told Jimmy G will be staying with the team is why they did it. LA Blue 49, that earns a tinfoil hat. That is creative. I like it. I don't agree that it is the case, but I love the fact that you're thinking outside the box. It's creative. Yeah. Very creative. All right, we've reached that segment of the show where I got to say, hey, if you like the content, there's over 400 of you watching this thing. Hit that like button. You know Randon and his channel over there. The information is down in the description. Go give him a follow and subscribe as well. because that's what you got to do. Offer that support. It is greatly appreciated. William Bonnet, not William Bennett, coming in, missing out on top free agents that would have made this team Super Bowl favorites wasn't worth they're getting what they're getting for Jimmy G. This roster is rare. All it needed was cap space for top free agents. I really don't get waiting it out. I'm just not entirely convinced. I understand what you're saying, William, and I do think there's validity to that. I do agree that this roster was close enough that you push some of those chips in, you may get yourself over the cusp and be a Super Bowl caliber team. I'm just not sure when I look at the contracts and the deals that went out to the players that I had my eyes on. I'm not sure which one of them I would have actually wanted the Niners to overbid what would have been necessary to bring that player over to San Francisco. Did you have anybody, Randon, that you saw the deal they got and you said, damn, the Niners really missed out on that one?
Not really. I mean, I think that, like I said before, like if the Niners really wanted somebody, they're not going to let Jimmy G's contract stand in the way.
Right.
Like you could have restructured Warner and you could have gotten, the name just Chandler Jones, or you could have gotten those types of guys. I don't think that we're missing out on anybody. I think that they weren't going to pay Lincoln Tomlinson $14 million. They weren't going to pay a nose tackle $10 million. Not that saying that his talent isn't worth it, but they already went out in free agency and got a cheap replacement that they believe that they can coach up. They brought in Arden Key last year, a guy that is a cheap edge rusher that they think they can coach up. So, I mean, for me, it's like if they really wanted to go out and get a top free agent, which they did, they can restructure and do whatever to get underneath the cap. I don't think there's anything stopping them from competing in this market. It's just harder to do so. William is correct. It's harder to do so because that free money that you wouldn't have to restructure other deals for would have been there if Jimmy was off the roster. But I don't think they're being stopped by whatever's going on.
I agree. I think they would have brought in anyone that they had their eye on. And if they were that passionate about anybody, they could have cut Jimmy Garoppolo, right? I think that they would have done that if they had someone they were that passionate about. And I just don't think that there were any of those players they were that attached to. That Niner guy with a good perspective on this, though, talking about when people reference players who supported Jimmy G and then thinking that they may not be in Trey Lance's camp, saying, why is supporting your current teammate mean you only like that one guy? Guys, they are teammates. That's all. Stop this narrative. I agree. I don't think that George Kittle is somehow a Garoppolo guy and therefore doesn't like Lance. I think you have heard and seen the interaction between Kittle and Lance in the mic'd up in that game where he started against Houston. To me, it is just a narrative and not one that I support. I think there's a good vibe throughout this team, and I think it's good regardless of whether it's Lance or Jimmy at the helm.
Yeah, I believe the players maybe have their preferences, but ultimately they want to get W's. And so whoever's the quarterback in that game is the only quarterback that's going to help them get a W. So whether it was Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo, they want to win and they want to go to the playoffs. So yeah, I mean, if Kittle wants to hang out with Jimmy on his off time and he prefers Jimmy as his quarterback because, he rode through the 2019 season, that's his right. But ultimately, he's going to play just as hard for Lance because he wants to win games. Like, these are professional athletes. Like,
yes.
This isn't free for all football on the playground in elementary school. Like, these guys are paid to be professionals, and they're going to do just that. Very
true. Chris Royal coming in. Tinfoil hat thought. Deebo buying a house in Miami because McDaniel and Shanahan have an agreement to trade Deebo for 2 first-rounders. LOL. Chris, I'm not even putting on my tinfoil hat for that because you're not talking about Deebo. You can't be joking about Deebo. You can't take Deebo away from me. Deebo's my man. Deebo is staying here. No, I think Deebo responded to this one himself when he talked about he trains in Miami, and so buying a house there. Plus, I'm guessing his tax guy is saying, dude, get a house, have your primary residence in a state income tax free state. And Miami is in Florida. Florida is a state that is free of state income tax so that all of his promotional deals and everything like that get that tax benefit. I'm sure it was his accountant saying to him, Deebo, you would be wise to buy property in Florida since you train there anyway.
Yeah, and saying stuff about getting rid of Deebo is going to get you kicked off this channel, Chris.
Chris is too long of a sneakerhead to get removed, even if he goes down a very tricky path. But it's a good way to end up in the doghouse. You know, I mean, like the Shanahan doghouse, there's a Schuh doghouse as well. So you got to be careful talking about Deebo. All right, let's get to the free agent grades. Hey, we're only an hour into the program. It's about time that we get to the thing that probably was, the leadoff topic for us. But let's talk through a little bit of these grades. We only have, it's not too many to go through. We only have 3 players that we have to worry about. Charvarius Ward comes in, 3-year deal worth $40.5 million, $26.7 million guaranteed. He's 6'1", turns 26 in May. He was an undrafted rookie out of Middle Tennessee State in 2018. Runs a 4.44 40. His reception, some of the advanced stats. His reception rate was only 51%, which was number 4 among NFL corners. A passer rating of 73.6, number 11 among corners. Missed tackle rate of 5.3%, which was number 8. And all those numbers coming in from Football Focus. Was this the player you were looking for in the secondary? And what type of a grade are you giving to this transaction, Randon?
So the grade is going to be dependent. I like the fact that they went out and got a corner, but I agree with some people here is that Charvarius Ward is very much a man press physical corner, and that's what he thrives on. And so was Ambry Thomas, but they didn't use Ambry Thomas in that way. So if they get this guy and using him and not in his best strength, then it's probably going to be a D signing, because the fact that you're paying this guy a lot of money not to be the guy is what I'm saying. So, like, he should shadow. He should move all that stuff. You're smirking over there. Did you comment? Like,
I'm reading Luke Luna, who said Chris is in the shoebox. And that cracked me up for some reason. Not the doghouse, but the shoebox. He is not. Chris is not in any way in any box or doghouse or anything. But yes, that cracked me up. Please continue, Randon.
Yeah. So, so if they don't use him in that way, then I think it's a misuse of resources. But they brought him in to be that guy. They brought him in to hopefully shadow, play man press, play a more physical style of corner. And then you're looking at it this way, is that Mosley played a lot of nickel early on in his career. So when they go into the nickel formation, you're probably going to have Ambry Thomas on the outside, and he moves into nickel. And therefore you have 3 very good starting corners. And it's going to be in a league that is loaded with wide receivers. And so I think ultimately it's a good move. I think you're looking at some of the next gen stats that I have here that I saw, completion percentage allowed when targeted is 40%, which is first. Expected completion percentage, 46%, which is first. Yards per target, 4.6, which is third. Passer rating when targeted, 52.5, which is third. And tight window rate is 46.7, which is first. So he doesn't let a lot of people catch the football.
No.
And so people are like, oh, well, he doesn't get picks. Like, this is another guy that doesn't get picks.
Right.
But if you look at the corner Diggs, who has a lot of picks, he openly invites the quarterback to throw it that way, and he relies on his athleticism to close the gap and get a pick. Sometimes it works, but he also gave up like the second most yards of any quarterback all season. So It's that gamble that you're losing there. And so ultimately,
little give and take.
Yeah, ultimately, I think it's a great move. He's also has, I think, according to PFF, he's the number 1 rated tackler amongst corners. And so, you're looking at all this kind of stuff that he's really high on. I think it's a phenomenal move. And then ultimately, like, are we going to be able to keep Emmanuel Mosley and Ward? Probably not. But this allows us to get this guy at a lower deal because the salary cap's going up. If Mosley plays another year like he played last year, he's probably getting 13, 14 million next season. And then, we probably say goodbye to him. Ambry Thomas is the full-time other corner. And we have to get a nickel somewhere. But this year's looking pretty good as far as our DBs are concerned.
Yeah, I agree. I like the move. I like the idea that we targeted a defensive back that comes in to be the presumptive cornerback 1. I like the fact that we didn't seem to overpay on this one. I will wait to really give a concrete grade to it until I have seen. I will revisit my grade once I've seen the details of the contract, because I do think that it's potential that we got some good value there when you look at the actual guaranteed money that each player makes. And my initial reaction was, man, it felt like we weren't that far away from a JC Jackson or a true lockdown corner. I mean, really not many of them available in this free agency, but it felt like a drop off from a JC Jackson to a Charvarius Ward. And it depends upon what the Niners are looking to do. I love what Matt Barrows had to say about it, and that we could see a little similarity in between what the Niners did in 2011 when they had Chris Culliver and Carlos Rogers, where Carlos Rogers played outside, and then on the nickel downs, he would slide inside to the nickel, and Culliver would come in and play that outside position, where you could see a very similar situation on nickel downs for the Niners now with Emmanuel Mosley as a starting outside corner, but on nickel shifting into the nickel position, and Ambry Thomas coming in as the third cornerback in that scenario. That Niner guy coming in with the insightful comment, as usual, Niners making a big shift to press man, tight cover on third down, and let the pass rush eat. Niners' biggest issue on D was third down last year. That's a fact. So however they intend to attack it, a new scheme that prevents these third down completions that just seemed unstoppable against the Niners is something I'm on board with. I like this from a strategic standpoint of how they chose to address the cornerback position.
It's an excellent point by Niner guy, and I really think it should be commended because we saw it a lot last year that they would go from zone to press man on third downs, and now you have two guys that can, presumably three guys that are all good at press man, and you could be bodying people up at the line of scrimmage, up and for on third downs, let that pass rush eat. I think it's going to be he's that guy. Ward is that guy. And I like the fact that there's a potential nickname for the psych ward for both wards on the defense.
I do like the psych ward nickname that is starting to come out. I think that would be a phenomenal nickname for the secondary. All right, let's transition to the next of the free agent grades. Oren Burks coming in. This one happened to yesterday, right? So we had the Monday night news, and then basically the only news that came out yesterday was the Oren Burks acquisition. 2-year, $5 million deal. He was a special teamer. He played 1,175 special team snaps over the last 4 seasons and was in on almost 78% of Green Bay's special team snaps this past season, the most on their team. I like this move from the same perspective of the other, in that this was a key area I thought the Niners needed to address. The third phase of the game. You need to invest in special teams. This, to me, gets an A- because of that fact that they invested in special teams. But I had to go with the minus there because even though they chose to invest in special teams, they managed to get a good free agent from one of the only special teams units that was worse than their own over the 2021 season. So yes, I love the fact that they are bringing in a special teams ace. I think it is about time that we invest in this unit. I think we need to bring in a kick returner as well. But please, when you bring in the kick returner, let's bring in someone who was on a successful special teams unit.
You took my comment right out of my mouth there. Yeah, I think they do need to invest in special teams, and it's not a flashy one. No, it's not going to get fans out of their seats. And I was like, who? And I never even heard of this guy. So but ultimately the special teams needs to improve, and if he does that, then great. And he's relatively cheap, so.
And from someone who watches those cheesehead games all year long, Dirk coming in to say he hits hard, he's a big dude, and he runs pretty upright. Hey, I am okay with that description. A big thumper on the special teams unit. That's what you need. He seemed to, I think he was somewhere in 15th in the league with special teams tackles. To me, again, it's just the idea of investing in special teams that I'm on board with. And then the last one was Hassan Ridgeway. This happened right before we went live. Feels like a solid move to me. Backup defensive tackle coming in from the Eagles. Definitely needed to replace someone who just went to Denver, unfortunately. And so this is similar to a DJ Jones type. 305 pounds, 27 years old. Not great in 2021. The statistics are pretty bad. His PFF grade last season was a 38.2, but we're only paying him about $1 million guaranteed. So this to me is the type of signing that I have to be, I have to put into this bucket of trusting Chris Kosarick to take someone else's discarded leftovers when it comes to the defensive line and reinvigorating their career. Because quite honestly, if I'm looking at his most recent production, I'm not wowed.
Yeah, I mean, he only played 30% of the snaps for the defense. So you're looking at a depth piece there. He is 305, but I think the best thing about the signing is this guy's nickname, the Green Mile. Like, we're getting some good nicknames coming in.
Yes.
And I'm all for that. I'm all for that from a content creator.
Yeah, you got to have good nicknames. That's half the battle. So to me, this one, until I get more information, I like the replacement of DJ Jones. I like doing it on the cheap. I trust Chris Kosarick that he had a hand in selecting this person and that he will raise up his game. So I'm giving this one a B just because of the trust that I have. All right, this next one is more of an update, but certainly interested to hear if you have any thoughts about it. But just wanted to give an update on the draft picks now being set. So the 49ers now have 1 in the second round at 61, 2 in the third at 93 and 105. They used to have 102, but that was part of the package to get Lance. That one's gone. So in the third, just 2 picks. In the fourth, they have 1 pick at 130. In the fifth, they had 1 pick at 170. And then they have 3 sixth-round picks, numbers 186, 220, and 221. And they have a 7th-round pick at 262. The only real update here for me was the news that initially people were predicting it was going to be 3 compensatory 7th-round picks. And that ended up being 1 compensatory 7th-round pick and 2 compensatory 6th-round picks. So it was a little bit of a pleasant surprise for me that we ended up with 2 additional 6th-round picks instead of 3 7th-round picks. And I have faith that the Niners and their scouting departments have done a good job in finding some talent deep in drafts. So that's sort of the exciting element of this to me.
Yeah, I think they're assuming that the 102, selection 102 is going to go to Miami for the Lance trade. So, yeah, 105 there. I like the fact that we got 2 more 6, a little bump up there. And then I think 262 is Mr. Irrelevant.
Yes, it is. Good call out.
So I think we should do maybe a little giveaway if somebody can guess the player right. Like, give your official player, email it to Rob's email, and if you get it, then we'll get you like a little gift or something like that.
We'll give them a mug. I got mugs, baby. They can get themselves their own Cheers mug if they get Mr. Irrelevant correct. That's a good idea, Randon. Off the cuff. All right, let's go into, we got a couple of topics to hit quickly and we'll roll through them. Just let me know if we hit up against a hard cap here for you, Randon. But Austin Hooper, this is the tease that we hit earlier. We talked about the Niners potentially needing a second tight end. This is now an option that you have that has hit the market. The Niners showed some interest in Austin Hooper when he was a free agent. He's now available. He could be the backup to George Kittle. He was a Stanford product and has played for Shanahan. So I'm curious to know if this is someone that you think the 49ers will target yet again.
I don't see why not. They need to. They need to find somebody, whether it be him or OJ Howard or something along those lines, where the production could be there. I think that I don't know like his prowess as a player. I know he's a decent pass catcher, but they need to find a guy that can do some blocking and utilize Kittle more in the way that Kelsey's utilized for Kansas City, because like, you're paying the guy that much money, he needs to do more than blocking. And I know that people are like, oh, well, that's unfair because he's one of the best tight ends, but it's fact. Like, you need to earn your paycheck in a way that is touchdown oriented, in my opinion, as well as doing the fundamentals that is blocking. So, I don't know where all the other tight ends are signed. I know that there has been some signing, so maybe Howard's already gone, but Hooper as a player has been, somebody that has been a consistent or a good tight end. I think he had a good season with the Falcons. And if you can get a double-headed monster going, like, the more weapons you can get for Lance, the better. So I'm all for it.
Totally agree. I think this would be a smart move. It feels like one that you could get done at a reasonable price, and it's something the Niners have been it's a need the Niners have been looking to fill for quite some time. I would be interested in this one for sure. Let's close out on our recurring segment that we have done. We've covered the entirety of the offense. We are on to the defense. We're going past performance, which is our 2021 grade, and future value. Some of that has been determined for the defensive line. Here are the players I have on the list for us, Randon. Let me know if you want to kill any of these names or if you want to add anything to it. I got Bosa, DJ Jones, Eric Armstead, Arden Key, Samson Ebukam, Charles Omenihu, Jordan Willis, and Kentavious Street. Those seemed like the 8 most relevant names to me. Let me know if you think we should blend in there an incomplete grade for Dee Ford or anybody else. But that seemed like the list.
I would say the only other person would be an incomplete for Kinlaw.
Yes. Oh, goodness gracious. Incomplete for Kinlaw. All right. Well, let's go through them one by one in a relatively quick fashion because I know we got to get you out of here in the relatively near future. Let's go through Nick Bosa. I have to give the man an A. When he's not injured, which has only been the one season, I just see him as such a complete player, such a consistent player, such a relentless player. Even when he's not racking up the statistics, you can measure his impact on the game just by watching the film. It leaps off the page to me. To me, it's an A. To me, it's deserving of the future value of getting the extension that he wants. Going to get paid $30 million. To me, it's a no-brainer to re-sign Nick Bosa to that max deal.
Yeah, I would do it now because all the prices are just going to go up for defensive ends, and he could be making possibly 35, 40 million if we wait too long. Yeah, definitely A+, especially coming off the injury. Shame that he didn't get not even one All-Pro vote, which made no sense. But yeah, phenomenal player. If he's going to be a perennial bookend for the Niners for the next decade.
No doubt. No doubt. DJ Jones, man, parting shot. I'm giving the man an A+. He helped anchor the number 1 rushing defense in the league, and he offers so much more as a pass rusher than your standard run-clogging defensive tackle, and that's why he earned the bag that he did with the Denver Broncos. To me, it was, one last chance to hold up that barbecue sauce, one more chance to say thank you, DJ, and shed a tear for the fact that he's on to Denver, but wish him the best. Wish him nothing but success with the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, I would give him an A2. He came in out of nowhere. Like, people expecting Kinlaw to be that guy this year, and not really out of nowhere, but he definitely stepped up to the table, has a fantastic motor. I think I forget what one which quarterback he chased down, but I've always liked him as a player. I was probably right around the $7 million range is what I would have paid him. So definitely got over what I would have given him. And I think he was over $2 million over what PFF thought he would get. But a phenomenal dude from what I've heard, like Gonzalez is saying there, and a great player. And he's going to be missed on this team, and Denver got a good one.
He's going to be missed both on the team and for promotional reasons. Stivers 209 Football says, I want the barbecue sauce. Here's the deal. We will offer for Mr. Irrelevant, if you win, you get your choice of a mug, seen here, or a bottle of DJ Jones's barbecue sauce. I mean, it's up to you which one has more value. As far as I'm concerned, you can't go wrong with either one. So Stivers 209, just do your draft research and get that Mr. Irrelevant pick right.
I wonder if he's going to come up with a different flavor now that he's in Denver.
You would think. I mean, Big Dave is, a barbecue genius. And so you would think he might come. There'll definitely be some new labels going on there. That's for sure.
Mountain High barbecue sauce.
All right. Eric Armstead. Eric Armstead, to me, A-. I feel like he's dominant at times and disappears at others. I do wish that he were just a little bit more consistent in the way that Nick Bosa is, relentless, game in and game out. But I see him as a great locker room guy. I see him as, the Walter Payton Man of the Year. Everything that we said earlier in talking about him as a candidate for extension. I understand that the team is wildly committed, both financially, but I think also just emotionally and from a leader standpoint, I think he is absolutely in their future plans for the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I would give him probably a B+. I think the consistency in the beginning of the year kind of troubled me, but maybe that wasn't his fault. And the fact that now that he's in a consistent position inside and he's not playing end in middle, that production will be even more consistent next season. But I mean, he came on at the right time and during the playoff push, and that was nice.
Yes, he did. And that was indeed nice. Let's talk about another guy who came on later in the year, Arden Key. Maybe I'm going with recency bias here, but I bumped him up to a B+ because of how impressive I thought the second half of the season was for him. It seemed like that was just the puzzle pieces clicked. You moved him inside as an interior rusher, and he was far more productive from that position. I still hope that the Niners are eyeing bringing back Arden Key. I have not seen any concrete reports as of yet. May have missed something in the last 2 hours. I have not seen any concrete reports of him going elsewhere. So my hope is that they bring him back.
I hope they bring him back too, depending on the price. I think we made a point, or maybe it was, I don't know. But the point is that if you're betting on yourself to get a big contract, you're seeing the big contracts being thrown around for defensive linemen, is that stay one more year here, put it together for a full season, maybe get 8 to 12 sacks, and then you're making triple the money that you would make this year off a 5-sack season.
Yeah, for sure. JG1 wants him to stick around as well. Sees it as more of a 7 to 8 sack season. That's probably not going to earn the payday that Randon's talking about, but I think there is potential for 8+ in the dominance he showed in that second half. Another player who came on strong in the second half. As a matter of fact, the next two, Samson Ebukam and Charles Omenihu. To me, it's a difficult grade on both of these guys, starting with Samson Ebukam. This one, the beginning of the year felt a little choppier than it did for Arden Key because we saw him in the beginning of the year. He just wasn't playing as dominantly. With Arden Key, it was like, hey, we didn't really even get to see him because he didn't crack the rotation quite as much. And then by the time that we did, he was performing well. I thought we got to watch the transition of Samson Ebukam play out in real time as he came from a different position for the Rams and transitioned to putting his hand in the dirt for the San Francisco 49ers. But again, someone that towards the end of the year, I was very excited about, and more so as I listened to guys like Jack Hammer of the Santa Rosa Press-Democrat actively sell me on that second half production from Samson Ebukam. I've got to give him a solid B in my book, coming on late in the year.
I give both guys a B for different reasons. One, they came on late in the year. But I think the Ebukam thing, like money is tampers expectations. And so you thought that he should come hit the ground running. So maybe B- for Ebukam because he didn't live up to that price point early on, and it came out late. And then Onamahu was what, a 6th round pick that we traded for him. Yeah. So he far lived that value. So I would say B+ for the expectation that I had for Charles when he came over here.
I'm with you on that, the B+ grading up there. And GD5 here pointing out, Charles has tons of potential, still just 24 years old. That was a stupid trade. Stupid good. That was amazing to get him for a 6th rounder.
Yeah, I think he had the second best win rate of any defensive lineman behind Bosa.
That's wild.
So I don't have it in front of my head, but I think I remember seeing that he had the second best win rate for a 6th round pick. That's outstanding.
Yeah. Next one up, Jordan Willis. Recency bias dictates that he gets a little more favor for that block in Green Bay. Sorry to bring that up, Dirk. But yes, Jordan Willis, I didn't have much of an opinion until the playoffs. And so to me, this one is a depth piece for sure, but I'm giving this more of a B-. Like if I'm prioritizing future value here, I'm much more excited by the potential of Samson Ebukam and Charles Omenihu, and I'm much more focused on trying to sign back Arden Key. If I can get Arden Key and add Jordan Willis, I would do that, but I'm not sacrificing Key to add Willis, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would say his season was probably a C-. The playoff game an A+, because he pretty much helped us win it. But just another MO for the Niners. They get physical freaks. Willis profiled as that out of college, and they see if they can coach him up into a successful player. He started the season off suspended, so maybe not being in camp and getting that grind, getting going with the team, kind of gave him a slow start to when he was eligible. But I wouldn't be opposed to bringing him back just for that same reason, that he's that athletic freak. So.
Yes, I tend to agree that all of these guys that are not with the team, Jordan Willis, Arden Key, and Contavious Street. I would try to bring them all back. Contavious being the last one on that list for me. And for the grade for Contavious, I'm putting that in a C minus range. Just wasn't as stout against the run as I would have liked to have seen. I think that's reflected in the Niners not tendering him. And I do hope that they're able to bring him back at one of those, league minimum deals, because he is a quality end of the defensive line roster piece.
Yeah, I mean, I think that his, I don't know, I would say probably, around that range as well. He was, again, another physical freak that hurt his knee or I think his knee or back in college, and it took a while to get going, missed that whole first year. So we'll see there. I mean, there's a lot of guys that have all these athletic traits and they just kind of throw waves and waves at you. That's kind of like the MO of the style of the Niners play on that opposite side, where you have two consistent guys and then they just throw waves of other defensive linemen at you, and it seems to work.
Yes, it does seem to work. And the incomplete grades we already mentioned. Dee Ford, Kinlaw, definitely incompletes there. I think the future for both is undetermined as of yet. I do believe Dee Ford intends to try and play again. I anticipate we'll probably see a similar snap count as far as him attempting to playing for a little bit, injuring the back again, and then probably going on IR. And I would guess this is the last year that we have to go through that. But Kinlaw, it seems like the Niners are very optimistic about that surgery going well. And I would think that's why they let DJ Jones walk at the price tag that he did.
Yeah, I've seen some Instagram stuff from him showing him working out again already. So hopefully, Kinlaw comes with a vengeance and proves everybody wrong, because I know there's a lot of people who are saying cut him already, and he's still in his rookie deal. So hopefully he proves them wrong, proves everybody wrong, and is that guy that we drafted him to be.
Totally agree. In response to my poking fun at the playoff game, my friend Dirk responds, Niners own the Packers. That's why I'm here to learn. I like it, Dirk. I like it. Take home those key pieces of information and inform your team. Well, let's close on this. Kevin doing the right thing here, talking about at Rob. I'd recommend all sneakerheads subscribing to Randon's YouTube channel as well. He has a non-agreement policy that I admire, an admirable trait who just aren't yes men on collaborations. Good for you, Cerberus.
Thank you, Kevin. I really appreciate that. Yeah, go subscribe. I do other
down in the description.
Content. I do A's content coming up and everything like that as well. Sad off season for the A's. So if you want to see me cry for 30 minutes, that might be the episode for you. But yeah, it's a good thing. I'm just trying to get it off the ground there. Also doing hockey royalty. If you guys are big hockey fans, like and subscribe that as well. And I'm never going to be leaving between two beards, because I couldn't do that to Rob. Got to keep the beards together, my man.
Beards unite. Beards unite. Well,
One
it's been a fantastic
against the darkness.
Yes, it has been a fantastic show as always. Randon, always a pleasure to have you on here. Thank you for being a part of Between Two Beards. I look forward to seeing more and more content coming out from your channel. I look forward to coming over and visiting you as a guest on your channel. That will be a fantastic episode as well. I will be back, live updates if anything happens. We'll be back on with the Sneakerhead call-in show tomorrow. Randon, any final thoughts on your end, or any programs coming up on your channel that you'd like to plug?
Actually, I have So Real Sunil coming on to talk Niners for Cerberus Sports tomorrow. So tune in for that.
Tomorrow. Until then, 49er faithful, you know the drill. Cheers.